recording the oral history interview of Philip Suchy of the 56th Armored Infantry Battalion, 12th Armored Division, Second World War.
Yeah.
Interview being conducted in Indianapolis, Indiana, August of 2010 for the 64th reunion. First, sir, I want to thank you for coming and for agreeing to sit down and talk to me.
Well, you're welcome.
And we just start pretty much at the beginning. When the war started and when you went into the Army, what were you doing before that?
I was going to high school. As a matter of fact, I had to get a stay of induction so I could finish high school. And so my draft notice and my high school diploma are dated the same day.
Now, of course, from there into the Army and basic training, where did you do basic training at?
San Diego, Camp Callan.
And how much of a shock was it going into Army life from being a high school student?
Oh, not that much, because when my last year of high school, I lived alone. My folks moved to St. Paul, and I stayed and finished high school in that town.
So you're used to basically adult responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, from basic training, where did you head? Or where did you go after basic?
Basic training? Well, I think some of these things are a little foggy. I think I think I don't know. Basic training, I went Camp Barkley in Barkley, Texas, and from there we went overseas.
Now, in the infantry, what was your job? Were you a rifleman?
No, I was not. I could speak some German, and so I became an interpreter. And as I became more fluent in German as time went on, but I was an interpreter.
So, tell me a little bit about your first experiences getting into France and going into combat. Does anything stand out in your mind or anything you recall vividly?
Well, we got over into France, and then they put us out into a pasture, and and we had to walk up and down that, and it was raining and wet, so you were just walking in mud. And we did get to go to town. I can't remember the name of the town anymore, but it was just a small. You could go in, and you could get a beer or get a haircut or something like that. We didn't understand the French money, and so I think sometimes we were taken advantage of.
So your interactions with the French civilians were pretty favorable?
Oh, yes. You know, they thought we were good. And as a matter of fact, they used to say, you know, can you speak German? Oh, yes, they could speak German because the Germans had just been there. Say, after the war was over, can you speak German? No. They couldn't speak German anymore.
Very good. Okay, so when you did you recall your first combat experience?
Well, it was kind of at night, and we were marching, and we got stalled because up ahead of us was a German troop, whatever it is, whatever. And so we had to stop, and we had to lay down because they were shooting at us. As a matter of fact, the first guy killed in our outfit was laying at my feet. And then he started to moan and groan, and I was hoping that he'd shut up. I didn't know he'd been hit. But anyway, he was our first casualty.
Now, the daily life of a soldier in combat, in the infantry, what sticks out in your memory besides simply the marching and the riding in the half-track? Anything you remember or that...
Well, say, being in the armored infantry, we didn't march, we rode. And that's one thing I liked about the armored infantry is because we did ride. Later on, we get to see the regular infantry troops, and they had a walk, march. And so I liked the armored infantry.
Now, as far as the battles that everyone talks about for the 12th Armored Division, the Battle of Herlisheim, were you there for that?
Well, I was in the area. I was in the next town. Part of our unit was in Herlisheim, but I was not. So I never got into the Battle of Herlisheim.
Okay. Do you recall much about the time that the 12th was attached with General Patton going to the Rhine?
Well, it was just go, go, go. Yeah. Yeah, we could say his guts and our blood, you know. And no, we just kept going, day and night. It seemed like that, and trying to go as fast as we could to get to the Rhine, and then cross the Rhine.
Yeah. Now, of course, in Germany, once you start liberating German towns, probably a little different than dealing with the French civilians.
Oh yes, but I was able to speak some German, and so I got along real well with the German people.
And you found that once the towns had been liberated, they were a little less combative towards the Americans?
Oh yes, yeah, because they didn't like the Nazis, which was the Germans like that. So they were glad to see the American troops there.
Yeah. Did you participate in the liberation of the camps around Landsberg, Dachau?
No. Part of our outfit might have been, but I personally was not.
Okay, so after going through France, through Germany, and ending up in Austria at the end of the war, did you have enough points to go home immediately, or did you have to hang around for a little while?
Well, we hung around for a little bit, and we didn't really do anything except occupy our time. And then I was supposed to be transferred back to the United States as cadre for new troops coming in. And at that time, they had the point system. If you had so many points, you could be discharged. Well, as I was going crossing the Atlantic to come back, they lowered the points, so I got discharged right away.
So, back in the States and out of the Army.
Right.
Anything else you want to talk about? Your life after the Army, what it did to you or did for you later on?
Well, of course, what it did for me is it got the GI Bill, which gave me the opportunity for an education. And that's it.
Great. Anything else you care to add? Stories, things that stand out in your memory, or people you
No, I don't. I hate to lie. No, I really, it was nothing spectacular. You know, these things happen daily like that. You take it as a daily occurrence, and it's nothing spectacular.
Well, I want to thank you so much for agreeing to sit with me.
Sure.
And this will be recorded. It'll be out on the web so historians can check it out. And believe it or not, it is something spectacular.